On May 25, 1979, 6-year-old Etan Patz walked to his school bus stop in New York City. This was the very first time that Etan walked alone. He walked just a few blocks from home in the Soho neighborhood. He was so excited at being independent but never arrived at school. His parents, Stanley and Julie Patz, immediately began to search for him, though it was only towards the end of the day that Etan was still missing. Police were called in, and towards the end of the day, the case made its way through the media. The disappearance was peculiar because there were no witnesses, and there were also no signs of struggle. A massive search effort went on, generating hundreds of leads that produced no trace of Etan. The case remains unsolved to this day, while the parents of Etan became vocal advocates for missing children and facilitated increased attention to issues surrounding child abduction. One of the first to receive nationwide coverage through the media was with the face of Etan on the milk cartons, hence the nationwide Missing Children's campaign. Thousands of leads have been pursued in the years since, and no one has ever been arrested for the crime. The case went cold, and most seemed to think that it was meant to stay that way, that something had horribly gone wrong in the life of Etan. That was until 2012, when a long shot became a breakthrough in the form of an arrest warrant for a former grocer in the neighborhood where Etan lived. His name was Pedro Hernandez. Hernandez provided a confession to kidnapping and murdering Etan, testifying that he had taken the boy into the store, strangled him, and then disposed of his body. Since this confession was so specifically an account of the crime by someone who could only have committed it, the detectives began verifying his confession. In 2017, what had been a protracted trial, Pedro Hernandez was convicted of second-degree murder and kidnapping. He was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. In the conviction, some kind of closure was achieved, but Etan's body was never found. Much remains unknown about the particulars of that terrible day. Nevertheless, the case of Etan Patz did leave behind a legacy. It provided the much-needed impetus to the legislative processes and the creation of laws such as the one under the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and inspired the Milk Carton campaign, which has been a kind of an emblem of the war against the kidnapping of children. His disappearance led to further enlightenment on child safety measures and tracking missing children. Though Etan's family finally witnessed a semblance of justice with the conviction of Hernandez, and though the full truth about what happened to Etan may still elude us, the tragic event still haunts the public. The case remains a painful reminder for the impact child abductions have on families and communities, thus symbolizing, for all time, never-ending efforts toward protecting children from harm.